For years, U.S. states have been following national standards to manage and maintain bridges across the country. Now, local governments are beginning to adopt similar bridge management practices to improve bridge infrastructure at the city and county level. Hi there, I'm Nick Frank, producer of Ask the Expert. Today, I'm talking with expert Dave Juntunen about bridge asset management and why it's important for local governments. Dave is the bridge asset management lead at Mott MacDonald, a global civil engineering consulting firm. For more than 31 years, he has served as a bridge engineer with the Michigan Department of Transportation, applying his expertise in structural research as well as bridge design, bridge management and operations, and bridge program development. Dave, thanks for being our expert today.
You're welcome. I look forward to this.
Awesome. Now tell me a little bit about what you're working on now in the field of bridge engineering.
Okay. Well, our division specializes in infrastructure asset management. That can be pavement, it can be bridge, it can be sign structures, sidewalks, anything like that. But of course, I'm the bridge guy, so I specialize in bridge asset management. And so the types of work we do are with municipalities, cities, counties, state DOTs. We also work for the Federal Highway Administration. We do a 3-day workshop for the FHWA for bridge management systems.
And our big main focus today is talking about bridge asset management. So at as deep of a level as you want to get into, what is bridge asset management?
Bridge asset management is simply taking care of your bridges. There's a national working group for bridge management systems as part of the AASHTO TSP2 program that I'm part of. And we actually split it up into, basic management, intermediate, and advanced. Now, basic is just collecting the data. Now, the nice thing with bridges, we have the National Bridge Inventory, where everybody throughout the nation collects their, bridge condition ratings and their inventory information the same way. And there's the AASHTO element. So we have an abundance of data for the bridges. And then at the intermediate level, it's looking at your current condition and your trends, like over the past 10 years, and you'd have performance measures. There's the national performance measures of good, fair, and poor for bridges based by deck area, and that's using the NBI general condition ratings, the 0 to 9 scale. And you might set performance measures, like I want less than 10% of my bridges in poor condition. And then finally, there's advanced bridge asset management, and that's where we manage to the future. So not only how are we doing today, but where are we going to be 10 years from now? Where are we going to be 20 years from now if we do good, sound management? And that type of management, it can include replacing bridges, rehabilitating bridges, doing deck replacements, for example, and most importantly, preservation. How can I take care of my bridge so it's in good or fair condition today, and I will have the number of bridges that will be in good and fair condition 10 years or 20 years from now.
Awesome. And I'm excited to talk a little bit later about the future of bridge asset management. But for right now, why is it important? We'll kind of break this one up into two questions. Is why is bridge asset management important for, let's say, the bridge owner or the transportation agency that's running and controlling all the assets of the bridge? And then the second part of that will be, why is it important for the traveling public?
Yeah. Well, it's all about managing your money and doing a good job and having credibility with the public. For example, if I'm a county and I have 200 bridges, one, I want to spend my money wisely. There's never enough money. Now, the Federal Highway Administration is promoting good asset management by requiring state DOTs to do a TAMP, or a Transportation Asset Management Plan. Many states are doing that right now for 2022. And so there's certain requirements that they must use a bridge management system to be able to set their targets, and a target is predicting in 10 years from now, what percent they're going to have of their bridges in good condition, what percent is going to be poor condition based upon a certain level of money investment and a strategy. Now, agencies also do bridge asset management because it's the right thing to do. They know that they have this investment. It's a very large investment. With bridges, there's also safety in consideration. You don't want to put the public at risk because your bridges are in such poor condition or have some type of attribute to them that could present some risk.
So Dave, when you look at bridge management practices, how have you seen that they differ from, let's say, the city, county level versus like the state level?
My experience is that I worked for the Michigan Department of Transportation for 31 years, and the last about 15 years of it, I was in charge of our capital bridge program and responsible for developing a mix of fixes. We'd talk about, certain percentage of preservation projects, rehab, replacement projects, with a goal to reach 95% of our bridges in good or fair condition. And so we were really focused on that. And we developed strategies to meet that. And that gave us credibility with our legislature and our administrators to be able to get the money to meet our needs. Now, we also work with local agencies now, and they are as interested as the state DOTs, some of them, in doing good pavement management, doing good bridge management, taking care of their sidewalks. And it comes down to the mix of fixes. How much money do I need to replace bridges that are at risk, that are in very poor condition? But how do I make progress towards eliminating those poor bridges? Because if you just let them become poor and then replace them, that's very expensive. I learned when I was at Michigan DOT, where we put 20% of our funding into preservation projects, we learned that we slowed the deterioration rate of our bridges down tremendously. And that allowed us to concentrate on replacing the poor bridges that needed replacing, but those poor bridges weren't being replaced at a big rate with bridges that were fair condition that moved into poor. So, and that's important to an agency of any size. If you're a state DOT with 5,000 bridges or 10,000 bridges, you want a system or methods by which you can manage those. But if you're a city or a county with 50 bridges or 100 bridges or 200 bridges or 300 bridges, the techniques and the methodologies are very similar. And it really comes down to knowing what bridges you have, knowing their condition, knowing the materials and the design that they're made of, and knowing how fast they're deteriorating. And you put all that information together to be able to develop a strategy to get to a place that you want to be.
You mentioned that 20% of your budget went to rehabilitation. Is that the magic number? Was that just the number that your department decided, hey, we can allocate this? Or was there kind of some math and science behind that 20% number?
Yeah, well, this was, we developed that program 15 years ago, and it was 20% in preservation. Actually, it's 30% rehab, about 50% of our budget went to replacement just because they're so expensive. But the math behind that was at a network level, percentages, predictions that, it's really easy. If I replace a bridge, okay, it's going to be in good condition, right? So replacement is easier. Rehab, if I replace or if I do a rehab on a project, it may go from poor to fair. Now, really the challenge comes into showing the value of preservation. If I do preservation on a bridge deck that's in fair condition, the end result might be it's still in fair condition, but I've bought service life. I've delayed the time when it's going to become poor. And there's many bridges out there that are in fair condition. And so that's where it takes a little more advanced analytics to determine, okay, what's the right amount of preservation? When's the right time to do it? And that's what we're all striving for, is to have a systematic process by which we identify these structures. When's the right time to work on them? What's the right fix? And how much money do I need to do that?
And I'm sure money is one of the big challenges that local governments face when they are starting to implement these modern bridge management practices. Are there any other challenges? I'm sure there are, but money and what else are some of the challenges that you've seen that agencies face?
Well, number one is just knowing what bridges you have. And again, we're blessed in the United States that we have the National Bridge Inventory. In fact, I can go to any agency in the nation for their public road bridges, and there's an FHWA website where I can get their data all the way back to 1992. And so, number one, if you're a city or a county, I have bridges, and I've actually, when I was at Michigan DOT, we would have to talk with locals who weren't, doing the right things for their bridges, and, oh, I have bridges. So it's great if you know you have bridges. And then two, it's really exciting to me to see cities and counties throughout the nation that are doing advanced bridge management, where it's not just enough that I know I have bridges, but I know I have bridges. I know what material they're made out of. I know the design type. I know when they were built. I know their condition. I know how quickly they're going to deteriorate. And so I can predict the future. We can determine what our needs are today, and you could have prioritization formulas to identify which ones you should fix first. But the next level of that is what are my needs 10 years from now? And that's where it's really exciting, because the tools and methodologies are available now to be able to do that.
And is that ever a challenge of, when you look at a city county that have a limited budget, to say, especially on the public side of it, to go, okay, well, we know this is going to be the best for us 10 years from now, but the public doesn't quite understand that. They're going, why is this bridge not getting fixed right now? Because, it causes it gave me a flat tire the other day. So how do you balance, how does an agency balance that of like the public perception along with what's best for, the area that you're working on?
I think education is key there. And a lot of agencies have dashboards and they have annual reports. And so they're communicating how they're doing. Are they getting better? Or are they getting worse? And the state DOTs, local agencies, the ones that are doing asset management, that leads to, having a dashboard to grade yourself. I had 5% of my bridges were in poor condition last year. This year is 4%. So I'm getting better. And I very much believe in having performance goals. Is to, the first question I like to ask somebody we work with is, what do you want to achieve? What's important to you? For example, if we're working in Florida, their bridge inspectors and bridge managers know that there's substructures, these concrete piles that go into the water. They have salt water, they have brackish water, and those deteriorate quickly. And those, if left unattended, can become a safety issue. So they know that they need to fix those, and they need to know how often, or when they need to target that particular bridge for an action. Now, up in Michigan, where I'm from, we need to manage our bridge decks because we get a lot of freeze thaw, we get snow and ice, and then we use salt to de-ice the roadways. And unfortunately, that deteriorates those bridges, all the components, but particularly the bridge decks, rather quickly. So in Michigan, it's very important for us to manage the bridge decks. In bridges, you have three major components. The deck, which carries the vehicles over the bridge. Then what supports the bridge deck is the superstructure, the beams. They could be steel beams or concrete beams or pre-stressed concrete beams. And then you have the substructure, the piers and abutments that support the deck and the superstructure and transfer all the load to the soil. And so when we're managing a bridge, we're managing these components, and there's even more detailed elements beyond that.
Oh, thank you for diving so far into that. That's a fun.
I think I dove a little too far.
Well, Dave, that's why you're the expert, right? You got a lot of knowledge, and you're just ready to let it out. As we talk about, cities and counties and improving their infrastructure, we're seeing, a lot of billions of dollars starting to come in, and infrastructure funds are starting to become available for bridge assets across the United States. So what should cities and counties be doing to best utilize those funds when they start coming in?
You definitely want to spend the money wisely. And I'll go back to knowing what your needs are and setting goals. So number one, how many bridges do I have? What's their condition? A lot of agencies will do a risk assessment or prioritize the replacements. Again, with bridges, safety is number one. But success for a long range program is also in preservation. We could tell you that. To be able to, these bridges, in the old days, we would build a bridge, we would do nothing to that bridge. It became poor and serious or critical, and then they would replace that bridge, or they would close it. So, if some counties or cities, they don't have the money, and they just have to close the bridge, and it's an impact to the public because they have to reroute. It could be a safety issue because school buses and emergency vehicles can't cross that bridge. But today, we've learned and we know that if you just take care of that steel and the concrete and the timber, that it can last 10 times as long as if you do nothing. And so that's where the challenge to us is to show the value of preservation. And preservation is adding a deck sealer or sealing a concrete bridge deck, painting steel beams. It's not that different than if you're taking care of your driveway or your house, that you're just not going to wait until your roof leaks so bad that you have water pouring into your living room. Right. You're going to watch, the shingles on my roof, they're starting to look a little old. And I better be proactive and take care of that. It's the very same thing with bridges. It's there's a tremendous value to preservation, and the tools and methodologies we have today. It's exciting because we have the ability to show that value.
And that does seem like a common theme throughout transportation is the more preservation approach, whether we're talking to you about bridges or Magdi McHale about pavements. Preservation seems to be the successful way to preserve and make your assets go longer. And as we talk about successes, I know you have a relationship and you've worked a lot with a city like, let's say, like Raleigh, North Carolina, and maybe some other metropolitan areas. How are you seeing that, city like Raleigh and areas like that are modernizing their bridge infrastructure?
Well, it's really exciting to work with agencies that are progressive, like Raleigh, North Carolina, Hillsborough County, Florida, Polk County, Florida, San Jose, California. Is they have understood that for pavements and bridges and their other assets, that there's a lot of money involved there, and they need to have credibility with the public and their boards and the legislatures and whoever they have to report to. And they're managing their money, just like if you were managing your 401k, so you can retire someday. They're managing millions of dollars, and the word has been out there long enough that there are these, strategic investment plans. There's techniques by which we can, again, not manage just for today, but manage for 10 years from now, manage for 20 years from now. And it comes down to identifying what's the right fix at the right time. And preservation definitely is a big part of that. We can easily show, and it's that a preservation treatment on a bridge today is, in the long run, more cost effective than a replacement. Now, you have to do replacements, because I have a bridge and I can't let it get to a point that's in serious or critical condition and puts the public at risk. We'll always be doing some replacements. But if we're taking a portion of that money and we're doing preservation, that it's shown that you are going to, in time, your overall network of bridge condition, good, fair, poor, is going to get better and better.
So I have a pretty good feeling a portion of how you're going to answer this question. But what advice would you give a city or county that is looking to improve their bridge management practices?
There's a lot of information out there. I mentioned it earlier that I'm part of AASHTO, this American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, TSB2, program for promoting bridge preservation. There's a lot of information out there. The Federal Highway Administration has a bridge preservation guide, which is a very nice document for somebody to read when they're getting started. And then again, it's identifying what bridges you have, the material and design type, its condition. Start out maybe monitoring your trends over the past 10 years. That's what we always do when we start meeting with somebody. And then identify, okay, where are my needs? Where's my risk to the public, first of all? And then I have an X budget. Let's say I've got, a $2 million budget that I could spend on my bridges. Okay, what's the best way for me to spend that money? And it gets down into, okay, I will do this number of preservation projects, the deck sealing, the concrete repairs, the painting, the steel. And I need to spend some money on a replacement project because this bridge unfortunately did become poor and it's approaching serious condition. And so I need to take care of that. And just to get started, I think to identify what you have. And number two, set some goals. What am I dissatisfied with? Where do I want to be 10 years from now? And then start educating yourself on the methodologies to be able to, use data to make good decisions.
I love that, using data to make good decisions. And before I let you go, what do you see as the future? What's 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 50 years down the road? What's coming for bridge management practices? How do you see them evolving? And what are you hoping to see?
Well, I'm going to broaden that a little bit for you, because the exciting thing to me is integrated asset management. So I'm, it's just not managing my bridges in a vacuum. It's managing my pavements and my bridges and my sidewalks and my sign structures and my culverts and my stormwater structures, to integrate all of that management When I was at Michigan DOT, one of a good practice we had was coordinating closely with our pavement program. So we knew, and for example, pavements deteriorate much quicker than bridges. You might be touching a pavement like once every 8 years, maybe. Okay, if you have a bridge, you might need to touch it once every 15 years. And so we coordinated with our pavement program and said, okay, are you there doing a pavement project? And if you're there, I'm going to utilize your mobilization and your traffic control, and I'm going to take care of the bridge needs. So I think that's, and I call it enterprise asset management for everything. And so I think that's the future, is coordinating our bridge management with pavement and our other needs.
Dave Juntunen, the Bridge Asset Management Lead from Mott MacDonald. Thanks for being my expert today.
You're welcome. Enjoyed it.